Welcome back to like the two people who regularly see these videos. For everyone who's new, I'm X Rider, and I'm basically just going to ramble about the 8 books that I ended up reading in the month of April. Now, for those of you who saw my March videos, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to start doing weekly vlogs, because that was the entire plan of this account to begin with. It was just an outlet to ramble about books, because nobody in the real world wants to hear about it. So I was like, I just need an outlet, even if only like 1 or 2 people see it. Who cares? That idea went out the window. Goodness, are we okay over there? That was a sound. Anyway, so that idea went out the window because I kind of forgot what happens in the month of April, and April's just chaotic. Starting in May, we're going to do weekly stuff, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Listen, I also kind of thought this would be easier to do when I was on night shift. But this year, like, I did not have a break for night shift. Night shift typically is pretty spotty on if I'm busy or not. This year, nope, busy the entire time. It's fine. I'm supposed to be working anyway. It's cool. Anyway, I read 8 books in the month of April, and honestly, I felt like it was a very like whimsical type month. I don't know how I kind of just pick. I have an idea of like what I would like to read for the month based off of like my Libby holds, and I just felt like it ended up being very whimsical this month. That being said, I started whimsical with the first book. I didn't like it. You know those book of the month boxes that like the ads are on like Instagram and Facebook, and they're like, for $5 you can get this soon to be released book, and it has like a beautiful cover and sprayed edges, and like the premise sounds really good, and it's typically like a little romance, like a little and then it's like always compared to like another popular book, like, oh, it's like Hunger Games, or it's like this, or it's like that. This one was compared to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I really enjoyed. I read it last year, and so I was like, oh my god, this looks beautiful, it sounds beautiful, like I read the thing, I can't wait for this book. And originally the people who got the like early copy, they seemed to really enjoy the book, and I was getting pretty excited for it. And then the regular schmegular people like me started reading it when it first came out, and we all kind of waited a couple days, and then we were all like, "Hey, how do you feel about this book?" And we all came to the same conclusion. I immediately felt so much better. I was like, "Oh, thank God, it's not just me." I didn't want to be a Debbie Downer, you know. But that book is Our Infinite Fates. So my biggest issue with this book is I think it was incorrectly marketed. So it is marketed as a yearning through 1,000 lifetimes, right? So there you have these two people who fall in love early on, and they are destined to kill each other in every lifetime. So they keep getting reincarnated. They have a bit of amnesia at the beginning, and then they start regaining their memories throughout time, and then they have to kill each other. So the early lifetimes, they continue to fall in love, do the whole thing, and then die. And then later lifetimes, it's kind of just sporadic. Who actually cares at that point? Um, and that it's just kind of you're stuck in a loop, a Groundhog Day, if you will. So I think, in all honesty, the whole 1,000 year yearning thing absolutely would have worked. That absolutely should have been the premise of this book. If it was from the other point of view, the point of view that we are getting is not. That person in particular is definitely getting boink amnesia. And genuinely, the entire time that we are dealing with that specific lifetime, they don't care. Like, you can tell they're just like, I just want to save my sister. It would be a bonus point if I could live. Like, if I could just live for once and not have to die, that'd be awesome. And then there was constantly like the afterthought of like with the other person. And so I feel like, okay, this isn't like a love, like the love story was kind of like there, but not for her. Her, it was like pushed around, right? And like we kind of got glimpses and pieces of it throughout with like their past lives, but it got to the point where it's just so repetitive, and like the fact that she continuously gets amnesia and doesn't hold memories, there's no love in for with her. It kind of just it didn't. Now the other character that we didn't really get to see the point of view toward the very end, that one would have made sense because you didn't get the full boink amnesia. You actually had the memories, the love story, the feelings. We could have worked it from that angle. So overall, I ended up giving it a 2.5 because first off, like again, I don't think it was properly marketed, and to add to it, like the writing was well done, but it felt like a lot of thoughts. and a lot of just words. There wasn't actually, there wasn't, it just was kind of like there. It was a thought. It was a presence. It was like, I will not lose sleep. I will not lose sleep if no one reads this book. It's kind of how I felt about it, and I feel like it's kind of overall the vibe of it as well. But then I rebounded because I'm currently in the process of rereading every single book that is on my physical bookshelf, and that has also involved me because that's been a whole issue. Is I'm trying to not. Okay, listen. I say I'm not going to buy books. I'm buying. It's fine. I'm buying books. It's fine. But I do need to actually go through and cleanse my bookshelf and reread every single book that's on my bookshelf. And part of the reason I'm justifying reading some of these older books is, hey, some of these older books have got new titles involved, and that includes some of the Hunger Game books. Oh my god. There we go. I fixed it. It's fine. Um The Ballad of the Songbirds and Snakes. So this is kind of like before, like, for those of you who know the Hunger Games, this is like original Hunger Games. This is like, we are seeing not the first, but we are kind of seeing how the Hunger Games actually became what it is now, because there is, like, it evolves throughout time. It kind of just starts as one thing, and then obviously it evolves into this whole shebang that we get by the time we get to the Hunger Games itself, like with Katniss and Peeta. So this is us seeing the Hunger Games through Snow's eyes when he was a student. And I will say, like, we are seeing it specifically from his point of view. And I have not seen the movie yet. I will also add to that. So I actually haven't seen the movie. I'm hoping to see it eventually whenever I have time. So I don't know how different it is from the movie point of view to the book point of view. But we are seeing the entire thing through his eyes, and we're seeing it through his brain, the way he rationalized things and everything. This book is essentially a man who fell in love and gets snubbed and just crashes out about it. He makes it everyone else's problem afterwards. But we just kind of see his origin story. Overall, I gave it a 4. I heavily enjoyed just kind of watching the progression and watching him, because here's the thing, he's not a good person, clearly, and I am a very big fan of like reading books through the eye of someone who's not good, the villain, the morally great character. I enjoy the naughty. Listen, if there's one thing I truly love, is a truly psychotic character. I wish there was more like truly psychotic characters written, because sometimes people will give it and they'll justify, like, oh, they had trauma, so that's why they're the way they are. And I'm like, no, give me truly psychotic characters. Like, there is no validation to why they are the way they are. Obviously, some stuff happens. A lot of stuff happens. He's witnesses cannibalism. There's a war, so, and he's like dealing with hiding the fact that he currently doesn't have money. And the love of his life is gone, and he murders people. It's a whole thing. So obviously he's going through things, but like the entire time, it's not fully justified, other than the fact that he was one of the originals. Anyway, so I enjoyed just kind of watching madness. I gave it a 4. This was not my favorite of the Hunger Games series, but I definitely kind of just enjoyed watching where it started. Watching the baseline before it actually evolves to what it is when we meet Katniss for the first time. Now again, I'm currently rereading everything on my bookshelf, and that includes some of my old timey ones. And that being said, I have been reading the series, and I remember, like, looking back, I'm pretty sure that this was my least favorite of the series when I was a kid, which makes sense. But I read Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I gave it a 2.75. I could probably drop it to 2.5. Realistically, the books themselves, like, obviously now as an adult reading these again, the fandom is what definitely made this series incredible. It is the fans who have absolutely taken the series and made it something incredible. Reading back, I'm like, yeah, this was problematic. This was not necessarily as well thought out as it could be, blah, blah, blah. It's still a good series for those of you who are trying to get into reading. I'll always recommend this. If you're gonna read a book from a problematic author, get it from your library, get it thrifted. Do not put more money into their pockets. She's a crazy person. We don't like her. But yeah, no, this was my least favorite book of this series when I was a kid. I think, if I remember correctly, the 5th book is my favorite. And so The second one was my least favorite, so that clocks. It was just kind of, I don't know. It's kind of like, it's again setting the scene for the rest of the series as it does. Um, but yeah, I only gave it like I gave it 2.75. Realistically, it's probably closer to a 2.5. I don't really have anything else to say, but I feel like it's been so talked about at this point. It is what it is. Anyway, the next book, honestly, okay, remember how I was just rambling, complaining about book of the month? Listen, I'm also doing this in one take and I'm already out of breath. I can take a break. I can breathe. I can do sections. But no, let's just travel on. It's fine. Anyway, remember how I was just complaining about book of the month? Let's remember this because this was another one that I had seen in like a book of the month things before. And again, because I guess I was in like a whimsical field, I guess, or a whimsical mood, or I guess according to my Libby app, I was, because that just is what happened to come about. Um, but this was one of those, like, I saw it in a book of the month, and I actually really enjoyed it. So it's kind of one of those back and forth things. I was like, okay, maybe it's not as bad uh, as I thought. Um, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is a book about a woman who like is a professor at a college. She's doing all the studying, and there is the world of fairies, and the fairies, like, they have an idea of what happens already. Like, they've been doing all this research on different types of fairies and learning all the ways of their world. And she's going to study a specific type of fairy that is kind of lesser known, that people don't necessarily know as much about because they're really secluded and kind of just out there, right? And so she goes to this one place, and she's in this small little town where it's like winter. Well, it's like borderline winter spring, but they keep dealing with all this cold and the snow. And honestly, it is a really enjoyable book. The main character definitely comes off as like slightly autistic, and I think that's why I enjoy it so much, is because she definitely isn't like your regular type of main character that you kind of come across. She's very much like, she's focused on her job. She wants to do the job. She's not really good at reading people, and she's really socially awkward about it. And she has her dog, who's technically not really a dog, and then her colleague comes along to help her in her research, in her studies. And honestly, this is one of those things where it was really, again, interesting to watch the dynamic between these two people. And it was definitely interesting to kind of watch the one-sided love story at first, and just again watching her still not quite figure it out, but or you can kind of see her process her emotions as she's doing this whole thing. And she's just, I don't know, I loved it. This was just a very fun little fairy story. I say, like, there's not kidnapping and murder and all like regular sketchy fairy shit that tends to happen in actual true fairy tales. Not like the little happy covered in plastic Disney type movies. Overall, I gave it a 4.25. I really enjoyed it. I didn't realize that there was more to the series. I last year was the first year I kind of got back into reading, and so I'm kind of catching up on what's been popular, what's not been popular. Or just what's even been newly released. And I didn't I thought it was the first one of the series, to be completely honest. And when I found out that, like, I think the third one has recently come out or something like that, I don't know. All I know is there was more than what I thought there was, and I'm really excited to actually continue the series. It kind of surprised me, in all honesty, how much I liked it. I was like, this is fun. This is just like just, I don't know. It's scholars and fairies, and just I enjoyed it. I really don't know. It's been a while since I read this back. Like, hold on, I have it here. Yeah, I read this like first week of April, and this is why I told myself, I was like, hey, listen, you should probably start doing a weekly thing, because you forget things. Like, you take notes. Like, I have my review, but like my review's like short little words, not like just me rambling. I enjoyed it. That's all you need to know. 4.25. I can't wait to read the second one. I'm hoping to read the second one next month, depending on what my Libby app says. I don't know. There's a wait for it. Anyway, to continue on my good streak, because that actually happened for once. Like I said, I am currently rereading a lot of stuff on my library, which is giving me the excuse to read some of the newer books of series. And so I read The Sunrise Reaping. So the next one is like the step up after Ballads and the Song of Ballads and Snakes. This is the next one to technically read if you're going to read it in order. This is watching the games through Haymitch, so we get to actually watch Haymitch's Hunger Games. and it is very entertaining to see the progression. So obviously we kind of see older Snow, and we're seeing how the games actually are as of now, and they're still not quite the games we are introduced to as when they're the younger games. Um, but again, this is definitely, I just I really enjoy this one. Was probably, I think it's my favorite so far of the year, potentially. It was anyway. I gave it a 4.75, so it wasn't quite a 5 star, but I loved it. Like it definitely is probably my top favorite book I've read so far in this year. We're currently in May, so we still have a while to go. But the storyline is just, here's the thing, it's not a spoiler. You know he's gonna win, right? And so it's more of a watching everyone that he's kind of accidentally bonded with in this whole process. And you get to see all like the behind the scenes sketchy shit before, everything happened. And it is essentially considered like the last, what was the word I was looking for? The last like rigged game before we get to the Quarter Quell with Katniss and Peeta. So at least it was kind of considered the last rigged game. And so it's just really interesting to watch how it all happened. You get to see the love story, and you basically get to watch Haymitch's entire world crash and burn. Like from the moment it happens, a little bit before, all the way to literally the last couple pages. You just get to watch everything crash and burn. And it's just, I loved it. Someone made the joke on TikTok, like every time Susan Collins saw someone making a Snow edit, like a thirst trap edit on TikTok, she just thought of another way to hurt Haymitch. And I was like, yeah, honestly, it's pretty valid, I feel like. Anyway, I'm out of breath. Like I said, I should have just spaced these out. But I'm gonna power through it. It's fine. The next book I read, like I said, I was on a roll because I had another good read. I read Oathbound, which I think it came out January, March, February. It came out recently. This is a new release it is the third book of the Legendborn series. I gave it a 4.25. This is definitely, I loved the first book of the series. It kind of introduces the whole, Merlin and the magic system and all things of that nature. And you get introduced to Bree, who is our main character. And second book, in my opinion, is kind of one of those basic, like, okay, we're traveling a little bit to kind of build things. We got to get things to go, like blah blah. It's more of like those like basic, like, oh, those in those shows, like you have to have your basic beach trip or your basic like soccer baseball game or your basic like travel trip. That was kind of what the second book felt like. And so I was kind of like, okay, we got to this book and I was like, oh my gosh, we're back to having fun. We get to watch her really develop and learn her powers, and you really get to watch her kind of train and build up and just become more of her. Like this was the book I definitely enjoyed a lot more compared to the second one, because the second one was very kind of like back and forth with the boy thing. She kind of felt a little bit immature, and I know people are gonna be like, she's 16 or 16, 17, but like I think it was the whole thing where she was in college but not in college, and it's just, I mentally kept picturing her as older. And so I was like, there was just points I'm like, she's immature. I'm like, she's supposed to be immature, but I was at the same time, as an adult, looking back now, I'm like, girl, I would have gotten it at six. If I was like 15, 16 reading this book, I absolutely would have been like, yes, no, I totally get it. Now as an adult, I'm like, girl, let them help you. But don't let them help you, because freaking all the adults in this book are trash. No, that's a lie. Not all of them. A lot of the adults, the authority figures that you're supposed to like be trusting, trash. Absolutely horrible people. Anyway, gave it a 4.25. I did enjoy this book. I'm excited for the fourth. Is the fourth one the final book? I don't know. I think it might. I don't think it was supposed to go this long, but again, we get to really watch her kind of come into herself. We get to watch her grow and develop, and kind of just watch her put all the pieces together that she kind of wrecked in the second book. And there, like, the premise of it is kind of gotten a little interesting. My dog is being weird. What do you want? He's like, I don't know. Hi. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I don't know how to do some of these like second, third books without spoiling the whole series, and I'm not very good. I'll get better at it. It's fine. Hi. The next book I read, I was looking forward to this book so much. As soon as I heard that it was, that this book was coming out, I was like, oh, I can't wait. It was on my like one of my like what I was most excited for to release this year. And I definitely kind of felt a little bit let down. Excuse me. I know I said hi and you were just, "Ugh, I just want to be friends." Um, what book would that be? Gifted and Talented. Gifted and Talented is a story about siblings. This is a new release, by the way. This came out last month. Yes, something like that. Anyway, Gifted and Talented is a book about a bunch of siblings who kind of all have a hint of magic to them, but their father has died, and so they are kind of dealing with his will and what exactly is going to happen with the business because they own like this giant company, and just so there's a whole lot of money involved, and typical rich people arguing over money type and business type stuff. um Here's the thing. We all know Olivia Blake it tends to be a really character driven type writer. So she's definitely more, if you enjoy like characters over plot, she's typically your cup of tea. And I will say I do like a lot of her books, but sometimes I feel like there is almost minimal to no plot, or the plot could, it just kind of is like, okay, the plot could have been fixed in a blink of an eye, and the only reason it's not is because the characters are like dragging this out. So I heavily enjoyed the writing. I really enjoy Olivia Blake's writing. I really enjoyed the characters. I feel like some people are not going to enjoy the characters because they're kind of pretentious and they're kind of like, I'm better than you. Did my thing just die? No, it didn't. We're still good. I'm sorry. I'm very distracted. Um so yeah, overall, like, I enjoyed the characters, and I feel like some people aren't going to enjoy some of the characters just because they're a little pretentious, a little out there. But for me, there was one character in particular that I felt like there was no need to, like, she became an important part of the story because she's essentially the narrator through the thing. But like, she became important, especially towards the end of it. But like, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out why exactly she was there, other than the fact that she was like a witch, which was the other. This was the major thing. So the entire plot is obviously they're trying to just work out their father's will and who he left the company to. But there's also at the same time this continuous talk of magic, and all these siblings have a little bit of touch of magic, and one of them keeps dying sporadically, and the other one is causing like is causing like apocalypse type stuff, and the other can like convince people they're happy. And you have this in, like, we see how this affects their life and things of that nature, but there was no magic system to it, which could have been fine. How do I do this without ruining it? But essentially, the guy, the brother who keeps dying, the way we figure out why he keeps just sporadically dying, I don't know. It's just like, I was like, I kind of read it and I was like, really? That? I was like, that we did not have to do all that. Like, if you were gonna do it, you could have made there was just no magic system. Like the whole death thing, I was like, this is stupid. We could have stuck with the electricity thing with him and electronics going haywire and power going haywire. I was like, I don't know. And like the plot itself wasn't actually even that interesting. Truly, the characters are what made the book interesting, and which is the main reason I kept reading. But overall, I just wasn't really satisfied, I guess. I don't know. I was really disappointed just because I was really excited for it. And it was just, I was so disappointed. I don't know. Anyway, I ended up also giving it a 2.75 at the time. Thinking back on it, I could probably drop it to a 2.5. Like, realistically, it was just, I don't know. I was disappointed. That's for sure. I was thinking it was going to be kind of like same. Okay, no. If you think of Atlas, if you liked Atlas 6, you might like it. Except for there's no magic. Even then, like, I loved Atlas 6, except for the final book, and I feel like I want to go back and reread it to try and justify to see if I was wrong in why I didn't like it. But like this one, it felt like it was supposed to be like a fun little book, but I don't know. Something happened and it didn't. It's fine. It's whatever. Let's talk about the final thing that I read. Again, I'm rereading every single book on my bookshelf because I need to decide whether or not it stays or whether it goes. And the one of the books that I read, I also picked this book because I had read James back in like February, I think January, February, something like that. And James is essentially a retelling through a different point of view of Huckleberry Finn. So I read The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and I didn't read it, admittedly. I listened to the audiobook, and I think maybe that was the issue because I definitely got a little bored. And then at the same time, I was like, okay, listen, it is an older book. It's kind of considered a classic for its time. It's not, it just, it's supposed to be like a fun little tale, essentially. But yeah, I got a little bored, admittedly. I gave it a 2.75, but it's like, it's supposed to be a fun little classic. It's one of those that, like, yeah, if you have, well, I probably wouldn't even recommend it for a kid, would I? I don't know. Anyway, that's everything I read in April as the sun has disappeared. Can you all even see me at this point? I can't see me. I have the back camera because I was hoping to like focus and stop staring at myself for once because that's always an issue. I just want to stare at myself instead of the camera. But yeah, that is the current vibe. I had a few goals for what I was going to read in March, or not March. I don't even know what month it is anymore. May. It's May. I was hoping to read The Hunger of the Gods, which is the second book of the Bloodsworn saga. I didn't love the first book, but the more I thought about it, I was like, maybe I do like this. Like, I really wanted to see how it ended, and so that's why I'm hoping to read the second one. And then, what else? I have a list here. Could use this list. Iron Gold is another one, so it is the fourth book from the Red Rising series with Pierce Brown. That is on my list as well. I had a whole bunch of like little short, older books on my list as well. Outsiders is on my list. Julius Caesar, the Julius Caesar Shakespeare play was on my list because, again, going through my bookshelf. I was supposed to read Rebel Witch back in like what, February? I didn't. It's on my list now, so hopefully I'm gonna get it done this month. I keep saying I'm gonna get Will of the Many done. I'm going to eventually. It's been a thing. I'm also I reread. No, I didn't. Yeah, I read Dune sometime last year, and it was kind of, again, one of those where I was like, maybe I'll read the rest of the series later on. I have decided. I was like, you know what? Let's pick the next one and go from there. So I'm also hoping to read, I think it's Dune Messiah is the second book. Yes, it is. That is the second book. Gideon the Ninth, I was hoping to read last month, and I didn't read it because it was April. I lost track of time. So I ended up requesting it, and I should be getting it in May. And I kind of feel like that wraps up about my hopeful TBR for May, which is kind of a lot more than I expected, but admittedly, it is May 8th? May 8th? Something like that. And admittedly, I have already read 8 books. So I've read a book a day so far this month, and I'm just definitely kind of like, whoops. I know. I said you were gonna. Didn't you just say you were gonna vlog weekly? I did, but it was Derby week. I got busy. Starting tonight, it's fine. We're gonna start with Rebel Witch because I'm okay. I'm almost done with Dune, the second book of Dune. No, I'm not. I don't even know. I think I am. But then we're gonna go to Rebel Witch. So I think that's where I'm gonna start. Is just start you all off with Rebel Witch because I have a feeling I'm going to be starting it tomorrow, which will be Saturday and my day off. So we're gonna do that's the plan. We're gonna do that, and I need to. I need to organize my bookshelf again. I keep reading these books, and I haven't actually been putting them where they're supposed to be. So we're gonna do that too. Anyway, hopefully I annoyed the grand total of 2 or 3 of you who are potentially going to watch this. Hopefully you kind of had an insight. Not an insight. Hopefully you got something off of specifically the new releases. I was kind of debating whether or not I wanted to do a full review of Our Infinite Fates and Gifted and Talented just because they were new releases. I got so busy. It was April. It was crazy. It was just honestly, but I could definitely, if that is something that someone is interested in, I could sit down and do a full review on those two because they are new releases and just give an opinion. But I also kind of feel bad because they weren't positive. But I feel like a lot of people kind of felt, especially in the same boat as Our Infinite Fates. Gifted and Talented, I honestly haven't looked at too many reviews yet, so I don't know how other people felt about that one. But yeah. I'm out of breath. My coffee has probably gone cold. So we're gonna check out. I will see you next week. We're doing weekly updates. Besides that, do better than me. Drink some water, read a book, and we will see you next time.